As you mentioned, my name is Richard Hollingsworth. I'm with Lexus Product Marketing and handle a lot of different Lexus vehicles in our team, and LX is one of them here. So what you're looking at is the LX. 30 years in the Lexus family it's been, since 1995. Many iterations, the 450, the 470, the 570, and of course we have the LX 600 back in 2022. So 2025 is like, how can we take it to the next level? Well, we were able to by two big stories. There's a lot of great stories. I'll focus a high level on two, and then we'll have Eli go into a little more discussion about it. One is the biggest number ever on a Lexus vehicle, LX 700H. And what that 700H indicates is that it has a hybrid powertrain now. So it is the last of the Lexus family that does not have an electrification story, and now it does. The other big story, number two, is the Overtrail grade, which you've seen probably when we did the world premiere, and you're going to see a lot of it today on road and off-road capabilities with that vehicle here. So that's the two big stories up in here. We're very, very excited to have that in our lineup here, but there's some other stories as well with advanced technology. So we went from LSS Plus 2.5 to 3.0. So there's a couple more safety that goes with that, but also other advanced technologies, including traffic jam assist is now standard, front cross traffic alert is standard, and then on 700H's, advanced park with remote park is now standard here as well. So you want to make sure that when you're talking to a prestige luxury SUV customer, they want to make sure they have all the latest bells and whistles. And with the multiple grade strategies, today we have an F Sport we're looking at, we have Overtrail, we have the Ultra Luxury, which you remember with the Ottoman, that we're going to have one of those as well today. But the big story is whether you're driving it on-road, or you'll see today whether you're driving it off-road, the LX will make sure it's taken care of. And it's great that even with off-road capabilities, how smooth it still is of a ride. You're not going to have that teeth chattering ride that you expect on certain vehicles. And I think that's when you talk to the chief engineer, and I do recommend to talk to him and ask questions that he's very proud of. Whether you're going on-road and destroy it, that vehicle could instantly go off-road, and there's not really going to be a big difference. They're still going to be comfortable, it's still going to bring you back home, and those are the big stories that we will have for the LX here. Like I said, for the vehicle, the LX itself, still very, very important in the Lexus family. Like I said, I know we talk a lot about RX, I handle TX as well, GX of course is a big story as well, but the LX is still our flagship. It's the #1 Lexus vehicle that started the SUVs in our lineup, and we want to every year continue as best we can to give the latest bells and whistles. And we've talked to our customers, so they like, we need to have front passenger and driver seat massaging seats. You need to make sure you have the standard cool box. All the doors, what we call power door closures. So if for some reason you don't have all the effort to close it, it will close automatically for you. But the other big story that we talked to is they still care about cargo capacity, and they still care about seating capacity. So depending on the grade and certain Overtrails, depending on a 2-row package, you can get 5 passengers. Most of the LXs are going to be 7 passengers, including this one. And then those are in the Ultra Luxury is the 4-seater that you're used to itself. But like I said, for what I was explaining, is that we talk to the consumers, not just in our market, but also in other affluent customers, and they said, we still wanted to make sure that we can still have the seating capacity and still some type of fold flat capability. So what the chief engineer and their team developed is that because of the location of the battery on the vehicle, we can't put it's inside the frame itself, so the seats no longer can go fold flat into the cargo area. So they still remain, they'll sit on top, but you're not losing any headroom, you're not losing any leg room, you just don't have that full fold flat capability. But at the same time, we didn't want to leave the seats just sitting there with anything else, so they created this about 175 pounds you can hold the shelf system. So you can put it away, or when the seats are up, it can go against it. But the idea was that we still wanted to offer some type of fold flat capability on the vehicle here. The execution is a little different from the Sequoia, which I think a lot of you have already driven. This one's more just one piece. It can fold away the shelf. There's tools in there for the jack itself. Maybe you never have a flat tire, of course, but they have it all compacted a little different than other vehicles in our lineup here. But the idea was that we didn't want to lose seating, and if you had to fold the seats down, we have the cargo area for you as well itself here. But the idea is, with our Prestige, with our flagship SUV, you expect a lot of things on the vehicle. And when you drive today, I do hope you get that driving impressions. We have a couple of 600s out there as well, so you can drive those. And then once you get into 700H, you'll definitely feel the difference in the power, the torque in particular, and just the smoothness of such a great powertrain itself here. But because there's a lot, like there's so much standard stuff on the vehicle this year that active height control became standard. I mentioned cool box, massagings. But if not, I will hand it over to Eli, and we'll go into more of the technical stuff, because like I mentioned, the powertrain's one big story. Overtrail's another great story, because we know the heritage of LX, been 30 years. We've seen them at Overland Expo, for people loving some older generations of what they can do. Now you're about to get one from the factory that can do everything. And with one of the big stories, I don't take all the glory, is the triple lockers. you're going to have that finally in the Lexus family again. So with that, I will turn over to Eli, part of our Lexus College team, and we'll be happy to go through there. Yes.
I'm Eli Nesbitt with the Lexus College. Thank you, Richard, for that. I'm super excited to be here with you with the LX. I'm an avid off-roader just as a hobby, and so having the chance to present Lexus off-road vehicles is a super exciting moment for me. The LX is a super important vehicle. It's not only a vehicle that can take you anywhere, but most importantly, it's going to take you back home. So a vehicle that can just get you stuck on a trail deep halfway down a black diamond trail isn't worth that much, but you need a vehicle that can physically get you back home. And to do that, this vehicle was over-engineered or re-engineered to make sure that it was the most reliable and dependable vehicle that we've ever put on a trail. So at face value, this might look like a vehicle that hasn't changed a whole lot. This might just look like a vehicle that has some black handles, black mirrors, black over fenders, but there's a lot that was done underneath the skin. And if anyone's driven, you know, the TRD Pros on Toyota side, the Tundra and the Sequoia, it might say, well, I've already driven that powertrain. But there's actually been a lot of mechanical changes done to this powertrain to kind of improve that. LX has always been on a pedestal from quality and durability, and we wanted to say, how do we push that even more? In the kind of spirit of Kaizen, we wanted to continue to perfect that. So even on top of just adding this powertrain, we wanted to bulletproof it. And so we did that with an entire mechanical backup system. So in the case of a hybrid system failure, which already doesn't happen on those Tundras or Sequoias that are being off-roaded heavily, just in case it were to happen on a very serious trail, we've created an entire mechanical system as a fail-safe backup. So this is the first Lexus hybrid and Toyota hybrid that has a starter and an alternator. These are kind of extra equipment that you don't need in a typical situation. The hybrid system starts the vehicle, as it does in others, using the motor that's inside the transmission and the engine. It also has the ability to essentially do what an alternator does with that inverter for the hybrid system. We added a physical mechanical alternator and starter to the vehicle to provide a fail-safe mechanism. It also has a backup battery that's only used to disengage that electronic motor and clutch in the case of an entire hybrid system failure. So if you're on a trail and something were to happen, it would essentially be able to unlock the motor from the engine, the electric motor from the engine, and it would be able to use the alternator and starter to get you off the trail as if it was an LX 600. So it can kind of take off the hybrid clothes and to become just a rugged mechanical off-roader again in the very, very rare case of a failure. That's a system that we engineered just for this vehicle. It's not on the Tundra, it's not on the Sequoia TRD Pro, it's just on LX. Along with that, it has a completely waterproof battery case that was engineered just for this vehicle. So the idea with this is we wanted as good or better water fording capability as the gas-powered version. So you're not losing any kind of off-road prowess or durability. In all honesty, you're getting a lot more because of the boost in power and the additional equipment. So this system was fully re-engineered just to kind of make sure that the LX, the first time that we introduced a hybrid model, was better than ever before. And it was this methodology from Yoko-san and the other engineers of there wasn't a hybrid system that was, you know, worthy of LX yet, so we're going to engineer it. And so they took what we had and they made it even better, and then they finally approved it for the LX. Along with that, the Overtrail does get a lot of black accent marks like we talked, black roof rail, black door trim, window trim, handles, mirrors, and some black bumper bits. Very right off the bat, you'll notice the 33-inch tires. It was a co-developed tire with Toyo for the GX and the LX. So you saw the same tire on the GX Overtrail last year. The wheel is different than the GX wheel. This is a unique 18-inch wheel for the LX. This used to be an option wheel that you could get. Not a lot of people saw it, and you could get it in black. Now it's a matte gray. It's a really good wheel, holds up really well to off-road environment situations. It's very durable. This vehicle is going to come standard with auto height control, as Richard was mentioning. That's standard across all LXs now. And it also has AVS. So AVS is our adaptive variable suspension, has about 650 different dampening settings. So that's going to allow us to have this dual nature that this vehicle is striving for. This vehicle needs to be very, very soft and compliant on-road, very comfortable, but it also needs to have the ability to be very rigid and hardcore off-road. But there's a lot of situations where having that soft dampening is also helpful off-road. So Yoko-san was able to go and kind of study with the Joust team, who was racing an LX 600 in the Baja 1000, and he was able to sit passenger seat and actually hear kind of their opinions on the car and how it should handle. And one of the things he noticed is that when he was driving in the passenger seat in that vehicle, he wasn't bouncing around, he was very comfortable. And even when they were flooring it through really hardcore desert terrain, it still felt very, very planted. It still felt very comfortable, and he didn't feel like he was out of control. That inspired us to be able to bring that sort of nature to this vehicle, where if we have great suspension that's tuned for comfortability on street, but also sporty driving as a large vehicle, that's going to play very well into the dirt and into the situation. So they're able to fine tune the suspension where it feels very planted, very kind of confidence inspiring, which is a big thing. You don't want to feel like the vehicle is getting away from you. So anything that we can do to bring that confidence level up is something that we want to do. AHC is our active height control. That allows us to go positive or negative. So at 60 miles an hour or above, the vehicle is actually going to lower about an inch. And then depending on your height setting or your transfer case setting, you're going to lift up to a maximum of 4.5 inches. So this vehicle will standard, an overtrail will go to high 2 mode. So if you're in 4-wheel drive high 2 is about a 2 inches of lift. When you put the transfer case in low 4, it's a mechanical 4-wheel drive, so it's all 4 wheels are spinning all the time no matter what. But when you go into low gear, you have 2 different height control modes. You have about 2.5 inches and then 4 inches. So high 2 in low 4 is going to be 4 inches of lift. If you're using crawl control and the vehicle believes that it needs a little bit more to get out of a situation, there's about another 1/2 inch that's left in that system for that to kind of go to a maximum kind of rescue mode, where if crawl control is still fighting to get over an obstacle, it'll go up to a maximum of about 4.5 inches of lift. You can't access that little extra 1/2 inch other than using crawl control. So the highest you can go just by your own setting is to put it into low 4 and then do a high 2, and it'll be about 4 inches over stock height. Walking around the rear here, we'll have this cover. This is the cover for the tow hitch. All the tow hitches are integrated into the frame. 8,000 pound towing capacity is the maximum. And with that, we have a trailer brake controller. So while you're driving around, above your left knee, there's going to be a new trailer brake controller for LX. That's really great for being able to fine tune the braking of your trailer. Now with 8,000 pounds, you can tow, some actual serious equipment, a small camper, a boat, an off-road trailer, something that you might actually want to have some ability to grab some brakes on. So with that, trailer brake controller is standard on all of them, 8,000 pound towing capacity, and it's integrated into the frame. One thing I do like to call out, with these integrated frames, with the tow hitch in the frame, it comes with an extra long tow pin. You can use that one, but if you have a standard length tow pin, if you go from the underneath, there's 2 sheets of steel, and if you have the included extra long one, the pin will go all the way through and you put the lock on the outside. If you have a standard tow pin, it'll go to about here, and you can put the tow pin in between those 2 pieces of steel. So it's just a common misconception. We've seen some people struggle to put a standard tow pin. Instead of putting it in from the outside in, you have to go from the bottom up, but it's still able to take a standard tow pin. As Richard was talking about, this is an improved deck system. If you've been in the Sequoia has kind of a shelf system that goes in 3 different areas, but it can't hold a lot of weight. This is integrated and supported, so in total, this back area can support 80 kilos, which is about like 176 pounds of weight. That's a great story, or just usability for an off-roader or anybody that's doing an outdoor activity where you might have to bring a lot of gear with you. So the fact that this has been supported and engineered to hold 176 pounds, that's 2 sets of tires, air compressor, a bunch of tools, or a bunch of sports bags and any other camping gear that you might have. So that's a great usability feature. It also, because the headrests fold flat automatically, it's completely flat across there. So if you need to create some form of a deck system, you can do that even without taking the seats out, because you have a flat surface to work with. Because it is a hybrid vehicle, we have a high voltage battery, which allows us to have a 2400 watt inverter right here. So that's a much more powerful version than we've had on the previous LXs, which had like a 400 or 600 watt. That allows you to run, a Dometic fridge, any kitchen appliance, kind of any, my favorite thing, a large air compressor. I use a 5-gallon air compressor when I go off-road, just in case I have a real blowout, where I have to use like an actual air tool or like for fixing mechanical stuff. Being able to run just about any small appliance off of the back of your own vehicle is a nice feature to have. It helps you out in a lot of potentially scary situations, and it's also just helpful if you're using this vehicle not for hardcore off-roading and just kind of going camping or to a kid's sporting event. You can run a fridge and have cold drinks and food for the whole event.